Armour Knights are kind of bad, and when looking at ways to improve them, a lot of people seem to want to increase their movement, upping it to being the same as most other on-foot units. While this may seem like a good idea and would improve them a bit, I think the games would lose something for it. On the other side of the coin, for example, Cavaliers are generally very strong, but it would be silly to nerf them by reducing their movement speed. Sure, it would make them more balanced, but you'd be losing out on what makes them unique. The same is true for Armour Knight's bad movement, just in the opposite direction. While high movement characters open up strategies by being more versatile, Armour Knights, in theory, are incredibly strong combatants that just can't keep up with your other units, meaning that outside of defensive situations, you have to play around said weakness. This can mean making heavy usage of dancing and rescue chaining to help them keep up, or having to slow down your play to accommodate them, and risk losing out on timed rewards and tactics rank. Their movement creates an interesting challenge to overcome, and the games usually have mechanics that you can use to overcome said challenges. No, the problem isn't their movement. It's that they aren't actually good enough combatants to justify that effort, mainly because while their strength and defense are usually great, they have terrible speed. And because of how doubling works, a faster character can have worse strength and defense, and yet end up doing more damage and surviving for longer because they are doubling and aren't being doubled. The lack of speed in many situations makes their strengths null and void, so the real solution is to buff their speed up to around at least average levels, allowing them to be doubled less and potentially double things, especially if you invest a speedwing or two. But does that change make sense? Is it logical to have heavily armored units having decent speed? Well, I'd like to answer that with a question. A fireball is coming at you, and you have to dodge it. Which of the following scenarios do you think would give you a better chance to? A. Wearing a heavy suit of armor, or B. Being on the back of a horse. The armor might slow you down and make movement a little more difficult, but I'd argue that the horse is much, much worse. While on the horse, you're kind of just stuck, only being able to move your upper body around. If you want your horse to dodge, you have to tell it to, which means that your dodge is going to have significant input delay. You could say that you can roll off the horse, which is true, but if we take this situation out of the hypothetical and into the practical of an actual battle, getting off the horse kind of defeats the purpose of having one. So while having a horse might help for top speeds, i.e. movement, it's not going to help for agility, i.e. what speed actually represents. As such, it should be Cavaliers, not Armour Knights, that have the worst speed in the games, with Armour Knights having below average to average speed.